Okay, well, now I'm live over on TikTok by itself. There's TJ. Hopefully this is better, TJ. Clearly, for whatever reason, my Wi-Fi was not liking having both devices going at the same time. So I killed the clapper live. I wasn't getting anybody in the room over there anywhere, and TJ's not wearing pants. Okay. But hopefully now that we're back in over here, I got rid of the TikTok, or I got rid of the clapper live. Switched back to doing it like I normally do. I just wanted to see what the clapper live looked like, how it operated, and I'm going to test some stuff out to see if I can download that from Clapper later and get it posted over on YouTube. I will post a little bit of a live I had later as well. That'll be up over on my YouTube page. I still think something's going to happen. We're going to save TikTok in the end. I don't know if it's going to go dark as of, midnight Eastern tonight. It might be dark for a few hours. I'm still freezing. It might have something to do with the TikTok ban, because I did get a message right when I tried to go live on my phone that it said the ban is upcoming and there will be Jules, you might have got. So what I was doing, Jules, is I was doing a dual live. I was using my computer to go live on TikTok, and I was using my phone for Clapper. I was trying to do both at the same thing. I ended up having to kill the one on my computer and start up just with my phone because it wasn't liking it for whatever reason. So we'll see. Hopefully TikTok doesn't go away. If it does go away at midnight tonight, Clapper is one of the places you'll find me. Also Blue Sky and YouTube. My YouTube's actually been picking up a little bit now that TikTok may be going away. So those are the places you can find me. I'm still going to be doing content, still going to be talking. We got a lot to talk about. Technology. Our phones are more powerful than our computers. Yeah, they are. It's amazing how far they've come just with what I remember. Pink Book Nerd said, following you on YouTube, learn a lot from you. Well, thank you. Sherry says, TikTok is derping. It said I wasn't following you at first. Yeah, it's been kind of weird. Brent says, too much money to throw away. Yeah, that's the big thing. There's a lot of money on the table. With TikTok, and I just don't think there's a lot of people that make their livelihood. There's a lot of tax revenue that comes in from TikTok, not just sales tax, and you got the income tax that people pay. And I saw one creator who had millions of followers said they made $60,000, or they had to pay $60,000 in taxes from what they made just doing all of social media last year. Paying 60 grand. I mean, and that was one creator. The government isn't going to want to leave that kind of money out on the table. TJ says Clapper isn't terrible, but it's like Temu TikTok. That's a good. That's a good analogy. It'll get better with more people, because more people means they can start getting better ad deals and things like that. Jules said, did you guys see Facebook has a TikTok page? Not surprised. Rebecca says, at least Clapper isn't Wish TikTok. Yeah. Wish. Jesus Christ. I remember I had an ex-girlfriend 10 years ago now, bought something off of Wish. Ended up not being worth it, not only for what she got, because it was ridiculous, but bank flagged her card, and her card was locked out, and it became a whole mess for like 3 weeks. All because she had to buy this stupid cheap thing off of Wish, and it was less than $1 plus shipping, and I don't even remember. It was dumb. Gina says, you think if they just changed the name from TikTok to TalkTik, might throw our government off? I mean, they are pretty dumb. They are pretty dumb. Because like you saw the clip, I think it was also Tom Cotton who said, who was asking the one guy who's from Singapore, so you're Chinese? You're Chinese, right? No, I'm Singaporean. So you're allied with the Communist Party of China, right? No, I'm Singaporean. You served in the Chinese military, right? No, I'm Singaporean. And that was, I think, the same guy who asked, if I have TikTok at home, can it connect to my Wi-Fi? Like, these people are dumb, and they're the ones making laws for us. One, because there's very few people who want the job of politician. And two, they can say the right things or whatever and get the right people backing them to get the money to run. And that's the problem. Rebecca says, you forgot you were on a live because it shows up 4 months later. Yeah. When you order Clapper, it takes 3 months to arrive. Jules says they need Katie Porter's whiteboard. Yeah. Yeah. Frida says that was Tom Cotton. Yeah. I thought that was all Tom Cotton. I thought those clips were from the same person. Is Hegseth getting confirmed? I'd hope not. I mean, in years past, I would have said he sunk his own nomination when the first thing he said was, I don't have the qualifications to be Secretary of Defense. In years past, that would have been good enough. But with him having the backing of Donald Trump, I'd still like to say that there's at least 4 reasonable-minded senators who would vote against him. We'd be better, TJ says, we'd be better off with Elmo running the DOD. Are you talking Elmo from Sesame Street? The little red furry guy? Or are you talking Elmo as in the nickname some people have for Musk? Brent says, what a nightmare. Yeah, it is a nightmare. The Sesame Street Elmo, yeah. I think he would make better decisions than Hegseth. Guarantee would be sober. I mean, Elmo's only 3.5, so he's got no interest in alcohol. But Hegseth, I don't know. I don't know if Hegseth gets confirmed. I don't know if RFK Jr. gets confirmed. But RFK Jr. could end up screwing over farmers in a lot of the Midwest states like Iowa because he wants to get rid of high fructose corn syrup. Well, citing its bad health effects. Okay, fine. But but if he doesn't do it right, he's going to end up hurting Iowa farmers and other farmers because corn syrup takes about 10% of the corn we produce. You can't take 10% of the demand out of the market and expect it not to hurt the price. So if they do it in one, okay, as of tomorrow, no more high fructose corn syrup being made. That is going, you're going to leave manufacturers scrambling, trying to replace it and come up with new recipes, etc. You're going to have farmers who can't produce. Like, if they do it slow, it's going to suck, but farmers can adapt. If they do it quick, fast, and in a hurry, which is what I expect, because Donald Trump and his close circle don't think before they act. They're very reactionary and they're very snap judgments. It's going to end up wrecking the economy, just like most things they want to do. 22 Cookie Monster says, yep, we're in deep doo-doo, folks. Yeah, I would agree. It's not going to be as horrible as it could be, but we're going to have to get through at least the next 2 years till Democrats gain control of Congress, and then survive the 2 years after that till they can hopefully convince the American people to give them all three branches again, or both chambers of Congress and the presidency, so they can pass some shit and get some shit done, and then do things that will actually help the American people. TJ says, hey Eric, I think your lives are going to go into the comedy genre. I mean, they kind of have been. Rebecca says they all have the intelligence and morals of a garden hose, and they may be making decisions. Yeah, that's the thing. Jules says if corn prices go lower than they were this year, that will be the end of small farmers. Yeah, and Donald Trump and his supporters don't care about what they do, if they hurt the small farmer, because they want to support the big corporate farmers. Big money. That they run on helping farmers. That they don't mean the little guy. Their model doesn't help the little guy. It helps the big guy. Because when all those little farmers go out of business, they have to go somewhere. They have to sell, right? So the big corporate farm comes in, buys it up cheap because they have the resources to buy the farm, and now they have even more land. That's just how that goes. Gino says, Eric, is it hard to move TikTok short videos to YouTube? No. All I do is I download the video off of TikTok and I post it up over on YouTube. Real easy. I don't even re-record. I end up just doing it's the exact same video. Takes a couple minutes. TJ says Cookie Monster wants Elmo as Secretary of Defense. That's hilarious. That's a platform I could get behind. Let's see. Getting past all of that. Do I get comments in here somewhere? Scrolling. Thank you for the gifts. And I'm caught up. Yeah, that was one of the weird things with that little bit of the first live I did when I was dual on here in Clapper. I had nobody in the room talking to me, but I had a couple people just pop in long enough to drop a few gifts and go. It was weird. They didn't leave any comments, didn't say anything, didn't even pop up that they were watching the live stream at all. It was kind of weird. Now they moved the inauguration indoors, which means Donald Trump is going to be denied his large crowd. And I'm not hearing him complain about it. He's not complaining about not having a crowd. Now I think Boomer did a video talking about it, where he said, is it because he knew he wasn't going to draw a crowd anyway? And that's possible. It could be preemptive maintenance, trying to avoid not drawing a big crowd. That they were trying to make sure they didn't have to deal with that embarrassment. Rebecca says, because he is pocketing the money he raised for the big outdoor event. Yeah, that's probably part of it too. He can move it indoors, claim weather, and pocket all the funds he had for the gala that's not, the big event that's not going to happen. 120 million? Okay. Wouldn't surprise me. He's all about a grift. He is the poorest billionaire I've ever seen. 22 Cookie Monster says, exactly. You're exactly right. Nobody's going to watch. Yeah. I'm not planning to watch. I watched his last one, but I'm not going to watch this one. Alice says, because he'll have his billionaires there. Yep. That's all he cares about. He cares about his billionaire buddies. Was on the live with Rational Boomer last night. I made this comment. They're talking about the MAGA people, the actual MAGA voters, the uneducated MAGA base. They want Donald Trump back in office because they want to be back with America being great again. But what they talk about when they say making America great again, they're talking about the time from, I'd say, roughly 1945 to 1980. When during at least part of that time frame, the top 1% were taxed at 90% plus. You can't say let's make America great again and want those kind of outcomes while giving the top 1% a tax cut. It doesn't work, but they don't understand it. Rebecca says all of our friends are planning on turning the TV onto Cartoon Network to divert ratings. If I had any sort of TV broadcast, I would probably do something like that, but I don't. I've been strictly streaming for years, but I'm just not going to tune in. The only way I will catch part of it is if I've got a few different appointments that day, didn't plan them intentionally, and if I happen to be somewhere where they have a TV on and it happens to be on, that is the only way I'm going to watch, because I'm going to be stuck in a situation where I will have to watch it. But otherwise, no intent to watch it. Jules is not watching either. Going to set TVs on Monday all day to HGTV or the Food Channel. Ooh, Food Channel wouldn't be bad. One Soul's Journey says won't watch it. Yep, I agree. 22 Cookie Monster says money, 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 money. That's who Donald Trump is. We work, he steals. What a mess we're in. You're exactly right. Gino asks, is it better than not turning on TV? Maybe. Because when they look at ratings as far as who watched what, like what was on where, if they can see an increase like that, hey, a bunch of TVs, especially if you turn from a channel that was going to cover the inauguration to the minute they start their coverage and switch, that would probably give them the information they want. John Veer says, check out the invites for inauguration 2016 and 25. Your thoughts? I haven't looked at it that close. I haven't been interested enough to care who's going to show up to his inauguration, because it's going to be a shit show. Rebecca says they only stream. Brent will be at work. CC Falcon says, don't follow the shiny objects. Don't be distracted. It's all about tax cuts for the billionaire. Yeah. That's what they want. They want to give the rich people more tax breaks. And unfortunately, the MAGA voter, the hardcore Republican voter that will vote Republican no matter what, they have this belief, going back to Reagan, that trickle-down economics, one, works, which it's been proven time and time and time again that it never works. It hasn't worked. But two, they believe that they're going to end up a billionaire themselves one day. That if they can't tax the rich even more money, because if they do, they're going to end up raising their own taxes. So they don't want to deal with that. That's why it's so hard to get through to these Republicans. They're convinced that if they follow and they help out the big money people, that the money's going to flow to them, they're going to be wealthy someday, so they don't want to pay the high taxes on the off end. I think that's part of it, and I think part of it too is Americans are bad with numbers, And when you use phrases like 370 billion and you write it out that way, 370 and the word billion, I think people get lost. I think for most Americans, you have to write the number out long form with all the zeros and start explaining so they see the big number, right? Like, because I've seen people say, well, Elon's worth $300 and some billion dollars. He could give $1 billion to every American. And all Americans would be billionaires because there's 300 and some million people in the country. Math doesn't work that way. Those numbers don't, that doesn't compute. But because the numbers aren't written out, I think a lot of people get lost on the math there. Rebecca says, if TV's off, no rating calculated. Dolores also says not watching. One Soul Journey says, just imagine he will be sworn in to office inside the Capitol Rotunda on MLK birthday holiday. Yeah. Jules says, I heard Midas Touch is streaming a dog and kitten video tomorrow on YouTube. Works for me. Alice is going to be watching DVDs instead of the inauguration. Looks like we got one of our few Trumplefucks in. Surprised there aren't more out there. Not complaining though. Glad they're not out there. I'm a Big G says, are you on other platforms? Yeah, I'm on YouTube, Analytical Iowan on YouTube. I'm on Blue Sky, Analytical Iowan on Blue Sky as well, and I'm also over on Clapper, Analytical Iowan on Clapper. There's a link tree in my bio to have all of it. I've also posted one video on Lemon8, but I don't know how that computes with the whole thing, with the TikTok ban, so I may be doing more stuff on Lemon8 after the ban. I don't know. Haven't decided what I want to do with that yet. Don't plan to go to Red Note. Something about it. I haven't even downloaded it, but the whole thing just seems off to me. And as somebody else pointed out, since it is a wholly Chinese-owned app, which is exactly what the government was afraid of, that they could try to extend that law to Red Note as well. So I'm not even going to attempt it, on the off chance that it would go away too. And we didn't even know about what Red Note as an app at all until like a week ago. It just, I don't want to join that craze. Laura B says, favorites is a good match to TikTok under American company. I'm a Big B says, I'll follow you on YouTube. Well, thank you. Enjoyed hearing you on Rational Boomer podcast. Yeah, I'm still going to do the podcast too. That's not going away. I'm probably going to shoot Mike a message here in the next few days. Say, hey, when can I get back on? Talk about the first few days of the Trump administration and the second Trump administration, and how big of a shit show it's been, how much they've already failed from the stuff they said they were going to do right off the bat, those kind of things. Yeah, I'll still be over there. Rebecca says, I'm still waiting for the collaborative podcast with you. Yeah, either send Mike an email, say, hey, when you're available, he can reach out to me, whatever, I'll do it. I'm cool with that. Or are you talking about when I start my own podcast? Lori says, you just saying that makes me ill, talking about the second Trump administration. Yeah. It does. I know a lot of people are thinking something's still going to happen at the last minute. And normally I would agree that something would happen last minute, but we haven't heard about anything. I don't see anything happening to stop Donald Trump from becoming the next president of the United States. However, let's see, scrolling up here. Get back to where I was at in the comments. I think after this Trump administration, you are going to see a lot of changes come out to how we do things in this country. Kind of like what we had after Nixon. Nixon did a bunch of stuff. For example, a lot of people are worried about Nixon, or were worried at the time about, let me rephrase. A lot of people are worried about Donald Trump not sending out money that Congress has approved, using what's called impoundment. Well, Nixon did that a lot, and a Republican-controlled Congress pushed back and passed a law called the Impoundment Control Act around his veto that said presidents can only hold the money out for 45 days. They changed some things specifically because of Nixon and what he was doing. And I think afterward you're going to see stuff happen after Donald Trump is out of office. I think you may see changes to how things are done. Probably something to not allow felons to run for president. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a constitutional amendment that clarifies the 2 terms total, not 2 consecutive terms line if he tries to do anything, even though I don't think he'll make it to the end of his term. There may be age limits passed. A bunch of stuff. It wouldn't surprise me. Congress likes to react to presidents, especially bad presidents, but presidents in general, or unprecedented presidents is maybe a better way to put it. And they pass things as a reaction. I mean, even the Democrats got on board and passed the 22nd Amendment, locking out for 2 terms after FDR with 4. I think you're just going to see a reaction there. Rebecca says both actually talking about either being on the podcast with me or me starting my own podcast. Now that TikTok's going dark, I've been thinking about it. For those of you following me elsewhere, if I do start one, I will be posting a short video, TikTok style video about it when I do. So I've been thinking about it, and if I decide to do it, that's what I will probably do. And then I will have to figure out how to do it so I can get it out on Spotify, things like that, if I choose to start one. Pink Book Nerd says, I absolutely love when you, Mike, TJ, Rebecca, and Will are on together. Yeah, I love doing the multi-guest lives. They're fun. I will say with certain people, it's hard to get a word in edgewise, but it's still fun to be part of it. And, even if I'm not talking, I'm either learning something or just enjoying the conversation back and forth. So it's always fun. TJ says, I want to do one with you, with me, Mike, Rebecca, Will, and Brian Wallenberg. I don't expect you're ever going to see Brian Wallenberg back on the Boomer podcast ever again. Leverin says 14th Amendment still in play, can't be used till after he's sworn in. I've heard that. I don't know. Some people are saying that they're waiting for him to take the oath of office and to pardon the J6ers, and that would be enough. Other people are saying that if he tries to pardon the J6ers, there are people in his cabinet or his inner circle that are going to talk him into not pardoning the ones that were actually charged with, seditious conspiracy. And that would be like the top leaders and the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. So I don't know if they use the 14th. It's still, if they have to wait till after he's sworn in to use the 14th Amendment, then that means we get J.D. Vance. But the advantage of J.D. Vance is he's smart enough to know what he doesn't know, and he will listen to people. He won't be doing some of the dumb shit for the sake of doing dumb shit. He may be more evil, but he's not nearly as dumb. So we could survive a J.D. Vance presidency better, I think, than Donald Trump, because he's not going to be as unhinged. I mean, we got to worry about what Donald Trump is going to wake up at 2 a.m. every day and start tweeting out on Twitter or Truth Social. Rebecca says, probably won't make it to the middle of his term. Over under 2 years. Yeah, that could be. Jewel says, I was hoping for Monday. Yeah. I think Republicans are too. They're hoping that he doesn't make it much past Monday. They just want to get it over the hump and have him sworn in. That way they can say he won. Then after that, they don't need him. They don't need him after he's been sworn in, because he can't bring them anything. All he can do is hurt them going forward. He is going to be an anchor to their re-election ideas. Brent says, you have the gift of gab. Yes, I do. As Mike says, I might not have I've got the quality down, or the quantity down. That's the thing. I can talk a lot. 22 Cookie Monsters. A lot of change has to be made. Paying people $1 million during an election. Yeah, that whole thing was dumb. Karen says, we already do have a law. 14th Amendment, Section 3. He's not eligible. Yeah, and the whole thing about how does it come into play, that was one of the things. The way it was written and when it was written was in the 1800s. It was written right after the Civil War. And the way elections worked differently back then. It wasn't until the early 1900s that we began using direct primaries like we do now. What would typically happen before is, I would just use Iowa, simple. Iowa would get together, the Iowa Republicans would get together, like their leadership in the party, in like the state house and the ones that were politicians would get together, and they would decide who they were voting for at their national convention. And they would kind of keep doing this. They would have their primary, but it would only be for those it wasn't open to everybody. The parties selected their own winners, basically, and their own candidates. That's why, like Teddy Roosevelt, he was this hot-shot up-and-comer in the Republican Party, gaining some notoriety. The Republican leaders went, oh shit, this guy, he could be dangerous to us. They didn't like all the ways he was going. So they said, okay, we're going to nominate him for VP, and we're going to bury him in the vice president spot. And that's what happened. That's how that worked. So when they passed the 14th Amendment, Section 3, that's how they were doing their selections. They assumed by passing it that the parties would keep doing it that way forever, and that the parties themselves would not put somebody who was ineligible up. They didn't see the change coming, and it's never been corrected, because until Donald Trump, even in modern times, they assumed the parties wouldn't put somebody up that was ineligible. And until Donald Trump in January 20th, 2021, we hadn't had an insurrection style event on U.S. soil done by Americans since the Civil War. Reg asks, will you be doing lives on YouTube? I might. I might do YouTube lives. I might do Clapper lives. I'm hoping TikTok just stays around. I can stay over here. But if I can get in, I will be doing lives on one of the two platforms. It's just going to depend. Haven't decided where I'm going to land with that yet. I might do them on both. So either way, wherever I end up doing them, they will be. I know YouTube just posts them automatically if you're live. And I'm going to see how Clapper works as far as being able to download them. If not, I will start recording them like I used to. And either way, they'll be up over on my YouTube page. So keep an eye out for that. Analytical Iowan over on YouTube. Pucker War asks, odds Hegseth attacks protesters. He won't have any authority to attack protesters. He's not Secretary of Defense yet. He can't do anything. So Hegseth hasn't been confirmed. So I don't know how he could order the military to attack the protesters. Lori B says, I figure 6 weeks before Vance calls him nuts and takes over. 6 weeks might be a little short, but I said from the get-go, the minute he takes the oath of office, he's on the clock. Every day the Republicans in Congress are going to be weighing their options as to when they need to pull the cord and remove him before he hurts them in the midterms and before he hurts them in the general in 2028. And if he wrecks things really bad in the first 6-12 weeks, they may have to do it early. If he doesn't do shit, they may let him ride for a while. We'll just have to see. Leverin says a state AG needs to file a quo warranto and the court can decide. Leverin says no. If they agree his appointment is made null and void. You know, I hope you're right on all of that. If the court deciding that he was ineligible makes the whole thing out, I would love to see it. It doesn't work, as far as I know, it doesn't work that way, but we've also never had it tested. We've never tried it. So, you know, we'd be in uncharted territory. TJ says, well, I think that's a little wishful thinking, but ultimately the Republicans will get Trump out of there. Yeah. 6 weeks might be wishful thinking. Pucker War says Trump's dad had Alzheimer's. Yeah. And TJ says with it, Trump already does. Sure seems to. He's got some form of dementia. Brent says Melania will be serving him his KFC. I don't know if he likes KFC that much. He prefers Big Macs and McDonald's. I saw something where he said like his favorite order from McDonald's is like a large Diet Coke, fries, I think it's a Big Mac and 2 fillet of fish. Something like that. It was a lot of food. Lori says, to TJ, I think we need to get a poll going. I mean, somebody would eventually win that. You pick every day between now and the end of his presidency, somebody would ultimately win. It'd be interesting. Pink Book Nerd says, to Rebecca, it's good to hear another woman's voice besides Old Soul. Totally love her too. Oh yeah. Old Soul's great. Great person. Always comes in with good ideas, good stories, good insight. TJ says, yeah, of course, women couldn't vote. Oh, when they wrote the 14th, oh yeah, that was the other thing. Women didn't have the right to vote. Karen says, well, now felons can run for president. Yeah. They can, and they can be president. Anthony Short says, no, convicted felons can be no convicted felon can be president. Yes, they can. Because the Constitution doesn't say they can't. There are 3 requirements to be president of the United States. 1, you must be a natural-born U.S. citizen, which has been taken to mean born on U.S. soil or born to American parents abroad. But you can't be a naturalized citizen later in life. 2, you must be 35 years old. And 3, you cannot have been elected to the office of president more than twice. And you cannot have served or will be served more than a total of 10 years if you are a vice president who has assumed part of another person's term. That's it. Those are the only requirements to be president. It should say a convicted felon can't be president, but the reason it doesn't is because when they wrote the damn thing, they never expected a felon to run. And it's never been updated because until Donald Trump, no one expected a political party to run a felon. It is mind-boggling that the Republican Party would have ran a felon. I mean, what was it? I don't remember which candidate it was. I think it was in the 70s. There was somebody who had a visit to a psychiatrist, I think. Had like a visit or 2 with a therapist. And that was enough to disqualify them. And the party would not run that person because they thought that was too disqualifying at the time. How far they have fallen that they allowed a felon to run. TJ says the same thing I said about what it says in the Constitution about who's eligible. 22 Cookie Monster says, I like the content of your messages. You're educating a lot of us. Well, thank you. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to educate, but I'm also trying to just to give people a little bit of hope. Because when things look bleak, that's when you start believing anything. And it's easy to get lost up into the, oh my God, this could happen. Oh my God, that could happen. Oh, well, they could really do this. They could really do that. And I'm trying to keep it more grounded to how things actually go, how things actually work. Because I think that's important. Not getting lost in the fear. Because there's a lot of things they may want to try. There's a lot of things they're just not going to be able to do. Rebecca says, Eric is ridiculously organized and intelligent. I would agree with the intelligent a little bit, maybe not extremely, but I think I am slightly intelligent. Organized, I don't know about that. I kind of just ramble out, and it seems to just work. Let's see, where are we at here? Rebecca says, what the fuck do they need Trump for after Monday? He's nothing after that. Well, part of what they need him for after Monday is they need him for optics. They don't want to get rid of him any earlier or any later than they have to. I guarantee you, they are studying this as close as they possibly can. Because they know there is a section of the Republican base that if they go against Donald Trump and out him, that they will not vote Republican ever again. They'll never vote again. And they don't want to lose those voters. But they also know they want to do it early enough that it helps them in the election because people remember how that things had gotten so bad that Republicans made the change. So, okay, well, clearly they've learned. Now we got to give Vance a chance, and let's see what they do going forward. But they also don't want to do it too late, that things are still hurting people at the election point. Because the closer it is to the election, as people are suffering, they're going to want someone to blame, and they're going to blame Republicans. Pink Book Nerd says Old Soul is absolutely phenomenal. She really is. Rebecca continues on that point, saying she is. It's an honor to be able to talk to her on live. It is. She is phenomenal. Does way more than most people. Very generous person, very caring person, and always has some story or another about something that always seems to be relevant to the thing at hand. And like I said, always out doing something or helping someone. So she's just such a great person. Jill says, love listening to Old Soul. I do too. Lori B says, I don't think anyone expected this level of insanity. No, they didn't. Mr. Suave. Karen says, if you did an insurrection, you were not eligible to run for president. Yeah, that's right. The problem is they didn't put exactly how that's executed in the wording of the amendment because they didn't expect the parties to ever select a felon or an insurrectionist or anything to be a candidate. Like I said earlier, at the time they wrote it, the parties themselves selected the candidates. They didn't have a primary process like we know it. You didn't have almost 2 years of campaigning to get the nomination. The general people didn't. It wasn't until after the DNC when most people would have been aware of who the Democrats or after the RNC for the Republicans who they were picking. The parties did a lot of that behind closed doors. It wasn't like politics then was an entirely different beast. So I wish they would have put up better things. If I wish they would have clarified it more, but they didn't think they needed to because of how things worked at the time. Mr. Suave says, we enjoy the positivity you bring. Well, thank you. That's the other thing. I try to stay positive because I know it's going to be dark, but I also know we can get through it. We survived a civil war in this country. If we can survive a civil war and we came out the other side of a revolution, in 1776, we can come out of this. It's going to be a struggle, and it's not going to be pretty, but we can get there. But we have to keep doing things like this, sharing the message, pointing out every time the Republicans little they get done, and then see what the Democrats do with what's going to be given to them. Rebecca says that education is invaluable. I feel like lately people don't understand checks and balances. They don't. In part because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump just says, to hell with it, I'm going to do whatever I want. Stop me. And then people don't see, a lot of people who don't pay attention to politics don't see the outcome of it. The number of times the Supreme Court smacked him down and said no. The number of times where an executive order got stayed by a lower level court and things. Hello, if it wasn't have been for Mitch McConnell realistically telling Barack Obama that we're going to make you a one-term president and any bill you want to sign or any bill you want to pass is going to sit on my desk and die. So Obama saying, well, fine, I'll go it alone then. We probably wouldn't know nearly as much about executive orders as we do. But even executive orders have their limits, and Donald Trump is going to get smacked down a lot. The checks and balances are going to hold. Just most people don't know they're there. Sherry says, to placate his supporters, talking about when they go after Donald Trump, and yeah, they have to do it. They have to be smart about it, because if they do it too early, they can't get his supporters on their side when they do it. If they do it too late, they're gonna take all the blame for how bad things are when the election ultimately happen or comes around. So they're going to have to walk a tightrope. Mr. Suave says, agreed. I think they'll throttle him down sometime after the inauguration. I think so too. And I think you're going to start seeing some of the pushback coming in when he gets to start actually getting his nominees through, when they actually have not just the hearings but the actual votes. They may be doing these hearings right now because he's not president to placate him a little bit, you know, make him think he's getting his way. Then they may call RFK Jr. in, you know, and they may smack the hell out of him figuratively in the confirmation hearing or in the actual vote. He may not get through. Same with Pete Hegseth. Same with Tulsi Gabbard. Linda. That's part of why I started a little earlier tonight. I want to have time to be able to download it before TikTok goes away. Jules says the size of the protest today in DC was incredible. I saw a few talking about how the parties picked their number coming up. Part of that appointment process is a holdover. You know, while they can check the power of the other, they're going to butt heads and they're going to be gone. Now we'll see if Steve Bannon gets his way. Steve Bannon said he was going to do everything. You know, he's going to try to put these people in, and if Congress doesn't back, different people having, you know, advising him about perception and how he looks. Rebecca says timing of the ban is hang on. Package that we really don't want passed. But if you do want it passed, have both chambers, send a bill to Joe Biden in the first few days of January. And here we are. Well, they put the sell-by date as the day Biden lost the election, because when they passed it, he hadn't dropped out yet. They could blame Biden for the TikTok ban, even though they were the ones that wanted it, and they didn't foresee Donald Trump wanting to save it. Administration with no TikTok to make out to no TikTok, but the blame should really fall on the Republicans. And issues had an honest discussion. Yeah. On everything. But you could sometimes bring, that's where it started. But like a camp, in the Trump camp, you have the low end, the MAGA everyday voter, the ones you see out at your local Walmart wearing the don't blame. And then you have the billionaires. They don't get along. They want different things. And that's going to be a problem for Donald Trump. He just doesn't see it yet. Chosen to bend the knee, hope I'm wrong. Well, they're doing it like Donald Trump can't do. Then he's president. Then he's a lame duck, okay? He can't win another election. He can't have a third term. And he's going to fuck their chances to get reelected in the midterms. Being cautious with him. And like I was talking about in a TikTok I did earlier, I kind of mentioned it earlier in this video. You have RFK Jr. wanting to bans corn syrup. That's 10% of the market. Now you have senators like Chuck Grassley, Joni Ernst from Iowa here. You got, Ohio. Ohio's another corn state where you got John something. But those two guys, they have to go back to their state and tell their farmers, their voters, yeah, we kind of fucked your corn prices over. How's that going to work for getting them reelected? That's what I'm saying. 22 Cookie Monster says it's power and perception with Donald Trump. Oh, that's all he cares about? He cares about power. He cares about perception. He cares about looking good. He cares about people thinking he's strong. What he doesn't realize is most of us think he's an idiot, because he is. Mr. Suave says, Mr. Show posted he's looking forward to working with Trump to keep TikTok in the U.S. open. Yeah, but I think he had to. He's got to post that, because if he says, well, I'm not going to work with Donald Trump, then Donald Trump's going to say, fuck you. He had to say that. The obvious response is, because yes, Joe Biden could have vetoed the TikTok ban, but because he doesn't have a line item veto or a partial veto of any bill, he would have been vetoing. And I will catch you hopefully the next time I go live. Hopefully it's on this app. Catch you hopefully the next time I go live. Hopefully it's on this app. Catch you hopefully the next time I go live. Hopefully it's on this app.